Hello, my name is Corey Schultz. My student number is 163845, and I've been asked to do an auto critique review. I will discuss each of my films and the director's style, illustrating different analytical approaches within film studies. My director of choice is Christopher Nolan, and my three films are Inception, Interstellar, and The Dark Knight. I've come up with three questions. What was the demographic? Was the film successful? And what did they do to market the film? In Inception, the demographic was young men aged 16 to 37. They used the Empire magazine, which has over 574,000 men reading it as their advertisement. So that shows you that the main demographic of the audience were young men. Was the film successful? It stated that it reached number one at the North American theaters over the weekend, with 60.4 million in ticket sales. Moving on to Interstellar, the demographic on IMDb was majority males aged 18 to 29. Was this film successful? Yes, it was a commercial success within a revenue of 675 million and had a budget of only 165 million. So yes, I think we can agree that that was a success. Advertising, they mainly did TV ads and spent 7.8 million on those. So that was within budget. Moving on to The Dark Knight, the demographic on IMDb also was males aged 18 to 29 were the majority viewers. So I think that this is definitely a Christopher Nolan tactic, is to turn his audiences towards that. Was this film successful? In the box office, it made 1 billion, and they had a budget of 180 million, so definitely exceeding budgets. Advertising, they did a viral campaign with a newspaper, and they named it Gotham Times. It was kind of like a fake magazine. And they also did merchandise with Burger King, and Burger King released the Dark Whopper in relation to The Dark Knight. So moving on to my next question, which is to compare my chosen three films to show how each film clearly defines your director's particular style. And the first and most evident aspect of Christopher Nolan's three films was his non-linear storytelling. He prefers to tell his stories from beginning. He tries not to mix it up, but does like to use a few flashbacks in order for you to kind of gather what's going on in the story. His use of grey morality characters, which basically leads you to believe a certain character is bad and then it turns out to be someone else. So basically, for example, in Interstellar, where Dr. Mann, they found him on that planet and he seemed to be a good guy, but then turned out to be against them and ended up being a bad character. Christopher Nolan also, in his three films, liked to do a twist in endings. For example, in The Dark Knight, we were left with the question, is Bruce actually dead? Or Inception, where was Cobb still actually in a dream or not? We don't really know. And then in Interstellar, you don't really know if the mission was a success. Yes, at the end of the film, we see that they have this whole new world, but was it because of him? We're not entirely sure. Moving on, we noticed that he mainly deals with lead male characters. In Inception, we have the main character Cobb, who is played by Leonardo DiCaprio. The Dark Knight, the main character is Batman, and he's played by Christopher Bale. And Interstellar, we have Cooper, played by Matthew McConaughey. In his three films, there's always a consistent protagonist trying to save someone or something. For example, in Batman, he's trying to save Rachel, or Cobb in Interstellar is trying to save his Cooper trying to save his wife in Interstellar, and Cobb trying to save his wife in Inception. And also another one is Christopher usually likes to make his viewers detectives. He gets them asking questions. So, for example, in Interstellar, questions that are usually asked within that movie, or what I asked myself was, what is Interstellar? When does Interstellar take place? And why do they want to leave Earth? Inception also led us with a few questions, which were, what are the dream rules within Inception? What exactly is limbo? And what happens when the dreamer wakes up? And in The Dark Knight, questions I had asking myself, why does Batman want to give up his crime-fighting ways? What are the Joker's overall goals? And why is it important that Batman refuses to break his one rule? These are questions that all of us lead to asking ourselves when we are faced with these films. Moving on to the next question now. Highlight the genre your film fits into and discuss what ways. I think that majority of these three films are definitely thrillers because they keep you on the edge of your seats. They're definitely under the category of action. All of them are action-based films, whether it's to do with killing, shooting, explosions, just a bunch of action-packed scenery. The next question I am approached with is, when analysing your director's film, consider whether the films are independent or part of the mainstream. Now, what I did here was I wanted to discuss the differences between both of them. And basically, mainstream is the term and abbreviation used to refer collectively to the various large masses of news media that influence a large number of people. So, like how we had the magazine in, where was it? The Empire magazine for Inception. They used that as an advertisement campaign in order to boost their audience. And what is independent media? Independent media refers to any form of media such as radio, television, newspaper, or internet that is free of influence by government or corporate interest. So I'm left with the question whether these three films were mainstream or independent, and I basically came up with the theory that they are definitely mainstream media due to the fact that majority of them had big major sponsors like Burger King for The Dark Knight and that magazine for Inception. My last question was that one, and that will be it for my critical review. Thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.